Benjamin hadn't touched the parcel in 3 days, but tonight, the air in his apartment felt different. Heavy, expectant. He tore the brown paper, revealing a worn leather journal and a typed letter. The letter was typed on yellowed paper, dated 1962, and signed with a single letter, G. The rules below were not believed when I wrote them. By the time you read this, they will be obvious. I am sorry. G.
Sorry for what? A slow chill spread down his spine.
He set the letter down and opened the journal. The pages were filled with cursive writing he recognized from childhood. On the back page, 6 rules had been scrawled in pencil, so faint they seemed almost invisible. Rule 1. Never open a crate marked with a triangle and dot.
Triangle and dot? His grandfather had never mentioned any of this.
There were 5 more rules. Benjamin's stomach tightened as he realized this was only the beginning. Rule 2. The men who arrive on the night flights are not the men who leave on the morning flights.
Not the same men? He pictured soldiers boarding under cover of darkness, and strangers walking off at dawn.
Rule 3. Do not look directly at the second runway after sundown.
A second runway, never mentioned in any history book. What was hidden there?
Rule 4. The base chaplain is not a chaplain.
Not a chaplain, then what? An officer in disguise? Something worse?
He let out a breath. He didn't realize he'd been holding. The rules were hardening into a pattern of paranoid secrecy. He turned the page slightly. 2 more commands lay beneath, their pencil strokes jagged, as if written in haste.
Why the rush? And why hide them on the back page?
Rule 5 and Rule 6 waited, and the air in the room grew colder. Rule 5. If you see a fragment, do not pick it up. Wait for the men in white coats.
A fragment of what? And men in white coats sounded like a contamination protocol.
Rule 6. Whatever they tell you happened on the 4th of July. It happened on the 2nd of July.
The 2nd of July. The Roswell incident was always reported as the 4th of July. That was the official date.
His grandfather had just contradicted the United States Air Force on the back page of a private journal.
He wasn't just writing paranoid fears. He was correcting the record from inside the cover-up.
Benjamin's throat dried. All 6 rules now sat before him, a code of conduct for surviving a secret war. He closed the journal slowly, then stood up. The couch creaked in the silence.
I need to see the files. Every record of Roswell that's still out there.
Outside, the city lights flickered, but Benjamin didn't notice. He was already reaching into the past. The FOIA archives loaded slowly on Benjamin's screen, decades of redacted reports waiting behind a deceptively simple search bar. The official record was unmistakable. Roswell Army Airfield Incident, the 4th of July through the 8th of July, 1947.
That's the lie everyone knows, but my grandfather wrote the 2nd of July. Someone changed the calendar.
He dug deeper, dismissing the official summary. 3 clicks later, a different document surfaced, a base maintenance log. Most lines were blacked out, but one entry survived. Aerial recovery operation, and the date was the 2nd of July.
Aerial recovery. The same day my grandfather marked in the journal. The discrepancy wasn't a mistake.
The document was so heavily redacted, it looked like a classified crossword puzzle. But the date remained, a pinprick of light in a blacked-out sky.
He was right. My grandfather was right. The Air Force lied about the dates to bury whatever they found.
Benjamin leaned back, his heart hammering against his ribs. The journal wasn't a family curiosity. It was evidence. He now had a discrepancy the history books couldn't explain. And this was only the first rule to lead somewhere. He turned to the personnel files, searching for any trace of his grandfather's name during those crucial July days. The duty roster for the 2nd of July, 1947, appeared, a scanned typewritten sheet with faded handwritten notes. Halfway down the list, in courier font, Cole, George T., Sergeant 509th Bomb Group.
There you are, Grandpa. Right in the middle of it.
He scrolled to the next day, the 3rd of July. The name appeared again. Same shift, same neat print. But when he advanced the calendar to the 4th of July, the name was gone, as if the ink had simply evaporated.
He vanished. From the 4th of July onward, he doesn't exist in these records.
He checked August, September, every month through December. No mention of George Cole anywhere.
They erased him, wiped his name from every log for the rest of the year. That's not a transfer. That's a silencing.
A chill crept over Benjamin's skin. The cover-up hadn't just hidden an event. It had swallowed a man whole. Benjamin pulled the journal closer, comparing his grandfather's pencil scratches to the blacked-out records on screen.
Every rule matches something. Rule 1, crates with symbols. Rule 6, the 2nd of July. It's all connected.
He opened his email client and began typing to a researcher he'd exchanged theories with for years.
I need someone else to see this. Someone who might believe it.
The email was cautious. No mention of family connection. Just the rules and the archival find. He picked up his phone and carefully photographed each rule, ensuring the pencil was sharp in every shot.
If the photos work, the rules are out. My grandfather's warning won't die with me.
He attached the images to the email and paused, his finger hovering over the send button.
What if this puts me on a list? What if they're still watching?
He clicked send. The email vanished into the digital void, carrying his grandfather's secrets. Sunlight cut through the blinds as Benjamin's phone vibrated sharply with a reply from the researcher. The email was blunt. I opened your attachments. Every image is blank white. Did you send corrupted files? He navigated to his own camera roll. All 6 journal photos he'd taken were now blank white tiles.
I checked them before I sent. They were perfect.
Desperate, he framed the journal again and pressed the shutter. The preview showed the rules, sharp and clear, but within seconds, the image shivered, pencil marks dissolving into gray static, then blank white.
It's erasing itself in real time. The moment it saves, it turns white.
He set the phone down next to the journal. The physical pages remained unchanged.
The journal is immune, but anything photographed or scanned turns blank instantly.
He began to pace the dim living room, trapped with a truth that could never be proven, never shared. He retrieved an old point-and-shoot camera from the closet, its memory card empty. He framed the rules and pressed the shutter.
Blank again. The file saved as a white rectangle. It's not the phone, it's the content itself.
He connected a flatbed scanner and laid the journal face down. The preview showed the rules, but the saved document was pure white. He tried a fax machine, feeding a handwritten copy. The receiving end printed a blank page.
Every method fails. Digital, analog, it doesn't matter. The rules actively block reproduction.
He sat heavily on the couch, the journal on the coffee table before him, its pages still stubbornly filled with pencil marks.
I'm the only one who can read these. The rules won't allow anyone else in.
The silence in the apartment deepened, thick and oppressive. He felt watched, but by what? The journal itself.
This isn't just a warning. It's a quarantine. The information is contained in me.
He leaned back, exhausted and scared. The journal on the table, seeming to possess an intelligence. He reached for the landline and dialed his mother's number, the only person who might know more.
Benjamin, it's late. Is something wrong?
Mom, that parcel you gave me, the one from Grandpa, where did you get it?
It was in the attic, in a box marked for you. I only opened the outer wrapping to see the address.
The address was a P.O. box, number 47. Did you know about that? Did he set it up?
Oh, that box. Your grandfather registered it in 1963, 6 months before you were even born. He put it in your name.
6 months before my birth. He knew my name before I existed.
I assumed it was a trust, a gift for your future. Why? What's going on?
Nothing, Mom. Just old family history. Did he ever mention why?
He hung up without answering her final question. The receiver felt cold against his ear. The box had been waiting for him longer than he'd been alive. The next morning, Benjamin drove to the post office, the brass key for box 47 cold against his leg. Inside the cramped compartment, a single yellowed envelope rested against the metal wall, untouched for decades. The envelope carried no stamp, only a handwritten line in fading ink. For Benjamin Cole.
He wrote my name before I had one.
He unfolded the papers inside. A registration form from 1962, signed by George Cole, listing box 47 under Benjamin's name.
He didn't just leave a journal. He built a delivery system that waited 60 years.
He tucked the papers into his coat and walked back through the darkening streets, each step heavier. Back home, he turned on the desk lamp and laid the journal in its circle of light.
There's more. I missed something.
He tilted the book, and faint indentations flickered along the back cover. Pencil pressure from a message he hadn't yet read. Benjamin rubbed the edge of a pencil across the back cover, and words ghosted into visibility. Faint graphite lifted from invisible grooves. The hidden script read, "You must mail this to your grandson in 2099. Beneath it, use the box I taught you to use. You will remember when the time comes. Do not break the chain."
Grandson? 2099? I don't even have a son.
He steadied himself against the table. The P.O. box, the predestined name, it all snapped into a single terrifying purpose.
The rules weren't just warnings for me. They were luggage I have to carry for another 75 years.
His grandfather hadn't just survived Roswell. He had spent decades engineering a chain, and Benjamin was the next iron link.
You will remember when the time comes. But I don't know the box or the grandson.
He read the lines again and again, each time the pencil strokes biting deeper into his future. He sat back, the journal open on his lap, and for the first time felt the chain itself pulling. The investigation was over. The obligation had begun. Benjamin pushed himself off the couch and began to pace the narrow gap between the table and the window.
I don't have a son, let alone a grandson. This instruction is impossible. But the P.O. box was created before my birth. He chose my name. He predicted me.
He stopped pacing, the contradiction grinding at his ribs like broken glass. Predestination warred with his skepticism.
You will remember when the time comes. Remember what? A box I've never used?
He stared at the journal on the table. The answers were there, buried, waiting.
He left this for me, but the instructions are incomplete. There has to be more.
The post office box wasn't just a delivery point. It was a vault. He hadn't searched it thoroughly.
What if there's another letter? Something he tucked away for me to discover later.
He grabbed his coat. The chain was pulling him back to box 47. The post office was silent, the fluorescent lights buzzing. Benjamin slid the key into box 47 with a click that felt final. He reached inside and pulled out a second envelope, flat against the back, untouched for decades. The envelope was yellowed and sealed, postmarked 1962. His name was written in a familiar hand. He tore it open and unfolded a typed letter, the paper so brittle it cracked along the folds. When the time is right, place the journal in box 47. Address it to your grandson, delivery for 2099. You will know his name. A handwritten postscript added. Trust the chain. I did.
He expects me to name a child I haven't fathered, a grandson I'll never meet. If the chain is real, the name will come. But what if it doesn't?
He stared at the letter until the words blurred, the weight of obligation pressing on his chest. He folded the letter, left the post office, and stepped into the night, the instructions seared into his mind. Back in his apartment, Benjamin's fingers flew across the keyboard, searching for the triangle and dot symbol. Obscure forums linked it to a black project from Roswell, code named Gatekeeper. But the trail ended there.
Gatekeeper. Every document referencing it had been purged decades ago.
He opened a new email to the researcher and began typing an explanation of the blanking phenomenon.
If I describe the rules without attaching images, maybe the message will slip through.
He sent the email, but the screen flickered and displayed a message blocked by server error. He tried sending a plain text file attached instead. It arrived blank.
It's a quarantine. Nothing about the rules leaves this room.
The crate's symbol from Rule 1 glowed on a dark web page, a silent warning that the chain was self-protecting. He sat alone in the dark apartment, the journal on the table, the decision pressing in. Benjamin stood, the journal heavy in his grip, and walked to the kitchen. He lifted the trash can lid.
I could burn it. End the chain right now.
His hands trembled above the garbage, the leather inches from rotting coffee grounds.
But what if destroying it activates something worse?
He remembered the blanking photos, the blocked emails. The rules defended themselves.
If I try to harm this journal, will the protection turn on me?
A chill crawled up his spine. The shadows in the room seemed to deepen, pressing closer. He lowered the lid and carried the journal to the bedroom, tucking it into a dresser drawer.
Out of sight, but not out of mind. It's still waiting.
He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the drawer. The apartment was silent, but something felt present, watching. He rose from the bed and walked to the living room, the landline receiver glowing faintly in the dark.
Benjamin, it's the second time tonight. Something's troubling you.
Mom, I've been thinking about Grandpa. At the end, was he afraid, or did he seem at peace?
He was calm, almost relieved. I remember once he said, "I kept the chain. Now it's not my worry anymore."
He used the word chain, just like in the journal. He knew he was passing it on.
His mother's voice trembled slightly, reluctant to share too much, but the words landed hard.
He never explained. I thought it was dementia, but his eyes were clear. He was just done.
Thanks, Mom. That's what I needed to hear. I'll let you sleep.
He ended the call and sat in the dark living room, the weight of duty now draped with a thin veil of honor. He opened the drawer and touched the journal's spine. No longer an enemy, but an inheritance. He pulled the journal from the drawer and set it on the desk, a framed family photo beside it.
I have to mail it, but to a grandson who may never exist.
He studied his grandfather's face in the photograph, the eyes that had seen Roswell.
You will know his name. The words echoed, and then a name surfaced. Theodore. Theodore. Whispered it. And the room seemed to hold its breath.
He grabbed a baby name book from the shelf, flipping to the T section. The name felt inevitable, preordained.
It was never my choice. The chain knows what's coming.
He closed the book and opened a desk drawer, pulling out brown wrapping paper and scissors. The journal sat beside the paper, its leather worn from decades of waiting. One more journey, then the box.
To my grandson, Theodore. I'll write that first, before I lose the nerve.
He addressed the brown paper package in careful block letters. Theodore Cole, 2099, for delivery via P.O. Box 47. Beneath the wrapping, he slipped a letter of his own, a confession, a warning, and an apology. He sealed the package with packing tape, the sound unnaturally loud in the quiet apartment. The drive to the post office was silent, the dashboard clock glowing 8:47 p.m. He stood before the brass wall of boxes, the key already cutting into his palm.
Once I drop it, I can't take it back. The chain becomes real.
His reflection in the polished door of Box 47 stared back, older than he expected. He held the package just above the slot, the metal edge cold against his knuckles.
Theodore, I hope you are ready for this. I hope I am.
He held it there, suspended over the dark opening, feeling the future pull against his grip, and for a moment he couldn't move. He let go. The package slipped from his fingers and fell into Box 47 with a hollow thud.
The weight is gone. Something unhooked from my ribs.
He drove home in a fog, the city lights streaking past without meaning. In the bedroom, the drawer slid open. The leather journal rested exactly where he'd left it. But when he flipped it open, every page was blank. The pencil rules had vanished.
It's gone. The ink, The rules, everything, as if they never existed.
He traced his fingers over the smooth, empty paper, searching for any trace of the warnings. Under the desk lamp's beam, faint impressions glowed, an after-image of the handwriting, impossible to capture.
The rules live on, just not for me. Theodore's turn now.
He closed the blank book and set it on the table. His part was done. He sat in the dark apartment, the silence no longer weighty, but something closer to peace.
Theodore. The name surfaced like a memory from a future I haven't lived.
He pulled a modern journal from the shelf and opened it to a clean page. The first line he wrote: "Today I mailed a ghost to my grandson." The ink dried quickly, but the words hung in the air.
George did this for me. I did it for Theodore. The chain isn't a cage, it's a spine.
Beneath the entry, he drew a small triangle with a dot inside, then closed the notebook. Beside it, his grandfather's leather journal sat empty, its purpose transferred.
I will never know the full truth of Roswell. Maybe that's how it's meant to be.
He turned off the lamp. The room dimmed, and for the first time in days he felt no pull, only silence. In the quiet, he opened a drawer and withdrew the typed letter from 1962. The rules below were not believed when I wrote them. By the time you read this, they will be obvious. I am sorry.
You apologized because you knew the burden was coming for me. I kept the chain, Grandpa.
He rose and crossed the window, the city lights twinkling far below his apartment. The camera pulled back slowly, leaving him a silhouette against the glass, the blank journal resting on the table. Outside, the desert night of another time seemed to bleed into the sky, a memory of Roswell. But the city remained, and Benjamin stood calmly inside it, having done what was asked. In the drawer, the leather journal's back cover held one last faint message: "Do not break the chain." He closed the drawer, and the apartment settled into a quiet hum. The chain was now beyond his reach. The post office aged. Brass tarnished, fluorescent bulbs flickered, and the wall calendar read 2099. A hand reached into box 47, fingers closing around a parcel wrapped in brown paper still crisp after decades. The package emerged into the light, handwritten block letters still legible. Theodore Cole. Beneath the address, the delivery date, 2099. The chain had held. The hands tore a corner of the wrapping. The leather journal peered through, its cover unmarred. The journal slid free. The hands hesitated, then opened the cover. Pencil scratches crept across the first page as if written by an invisible hand. The rules returning. On the back cover, the same old message: "Do not break the chain." The young hands trembled, then steadied. Somewhere in the future, a new guardian had been chosen. The screen faded to black, and a whisper echoed into the silence: "Do not break the chain."